What if all of these starting quarterbacks in the league were cut and sent into free agency before the start of the season, and then there was just a free-for-all to sign all of these starting quarterbacks in the league? Well, that's what I've done to every roster in the NFL. No one has any starting quarterbacks left. They should all try to sign one of these guys if you want to compete this year. A couple teams like the Steelers got 2 players cut because I cut Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky because I don't know who's going to be the starter there. But now let's simulate to week 1 in the season and figure out where all of the quarterbacks are going. And we are starting off strong. The Chicago Bears land Patrick Mahomes. Cincinnati ends up signing Carson Wentz. The Buffalo Bills end up with Ryan Tannehill. The Broncos end up signing Gardner Minshew. Is that really the best y'all could do? I had to release guys like Gardner Minshew so the CPU would actually sign quarterbacks to the Eagles. The Browns end up signing Colin Kaepernick. The Buccaneers sign nobody and are rolling with Kyle Trask this year. That is a risky move. The Arizona Cardinals pick up Deshaun Watson. The Chargers get a pretty big downgrade at quarterback, going from Justin Herbert to Daniel Jones. Well, the Chiefs get a much bigger downgrade, going to Mitchell Trubisky from Patrick Mahomes. The Colts signed Trey Lance. I did release both Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo just because I'm not real sure who is starting for the 49ers as of right now. And the Cowboys managed to pick up Josh Allen. And Aaron Rodgers is going from Green Bay all the way to Miami because he has signed with the Dolphins. The Eagles signed Jameis Winston, who I believe actually grew up as an Eagles fan, but obviously there were a lot better options in free agency. The Atlanta Falcons end up with Dak Prescott. And the Washington football team, or the Washington Commanders, whichever one you prefer, end up signing Russell Wilson. The 49ers lose out without getting Garoppolo or Trey Lance, and they sign Drew Lock. The Giants end up with Mac Jones. Jalen Hurts ends up as a Jacksonville Jaguar. And the Jets managed to land a pretty good quarterback. Matt Stafford has signed with them. Detroit with the most confusing move I've seen so far. They signed Josh Rosen. That's not even a quarterback I cut. He was just in free agency. Well, these two players end up swapping teams. Aaron Rodgers went to Miami and Tua is headed to Green Bay. Kyler Murray ends up with the Carolina Panthers. In real life, they just got Baker Mayfield. Why not get the other Oklahoma quarterback? And the Patriots have signed Zach Wilson to be their quarterback. The Raiders end up re-signing Marcus Mariota. I cut him from the Falcons, obviously, and I believe he played for the Raiders the last couple years. The Los Angeles Rams have decided to roll with Cam Newton at quarterback, another player that I did not even cut. He was just in free agency. The Baltimore Ravens are rolling with Davis Mills at quarterback. The New Orleans Saints have landed Lamar Jackson. The Seattle Seahawks have decided to go with Matt Ryan. The Steelers are going to roll with Baker Mayfield. I've been waiting to see where this guy ended up. Justin Herbert is a member of the Houston Texans. And instead of playing for Jacksonville, he is going to play for a division rival because Trevor Lawrence has signed with the Titans. And then last but most certainly not least, Joe Burrow has signed with the Minnesota Vikings. Here are the top quarterbacks left available in free agency. Tom Brady at 99 overall, but he is 44. I think that is stopping the CPU from signing him. Derek Carr is still available. Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo. Justin Fields is still available. That's kind of surprising. A 75 overall rookie. Kenny Pickett is a member of the Bears practice squad, apparently. And Jared Goff is still a free agent. Now with all that settled and we know where everyone is, let's simulate the first 4 weeks of the season to check out standings and stats. After the first 4 weeks of the season, Daniel Jones is leading the league in passing yards with 1,400. In touchdowns, that is Russell Wilson with 12 to only 2 interceptions. And leading the league in picks, oh, there are a few tied here. Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, and Ryan Tannehill. There are 3 teams still undefeated: the Kansas City Chiefs, the Washington football team, and the Denver Broncos. There are also 4 winless teams. The Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills, and New York Giants have all yet to win a game. The Steelers are leading the AFC North. The AFC South is being led by the Titans, but they are tied with the Texans. The AFC East is being led by the Dolphins, and the AFC West is a tie between the Broncos and the Chiefs right now. The NFC North is being led by the Packers. The NFC South is being led by the Panthers and the Saints. NFC East is obviously being led by the undefeated Washington football team, and the NFC West is being led by the Seahawks and the Cardinals, who are both 3-1. But now let's jump to Week 9 to see how much stuff changes. And we have now jumped all the way to Week 9, and Matt Ryan is leading the league in passing yards now with 2,200, almost 2,300. What about touchdowns? That goes to Russell Wilson still with 23, and interceptions. is Lamar Jackson and Derek Carr, who has now been signed by the Buccaneers. Alright, so they at least decided not to roll with Kyle Trask. And Colin Kaepernick has been benched because Tom Brady signs with the Cleveland Browns. And with that signing, the Browns are leading the AFC North at 5-3. The AFC South is being led by the 7-1 Titans. The AFC East is being led by Aaron Rodgers and the Dolphins at 5-3. And the AFC West is being led by Denver at 7-1. The NFC North is being led by the Green Bay Packers at 5-3. The NFC South is actually really close. Atlanta's in the lead at 5-2. But the Panthers are 5-3 and the Saints are 5-2. But also the Buccaneers are 4-4, so they're only one game out. The NFC East is still being led by Washington at 6-2, and the NFC West is being led by the Rams and the Seahawks, who are both 5-3. And then obviously, as you just saw, there are no more undefeated teams left, but there is still a winless team. The Buffalo Bills have yet to win a game. And I have jumped now all the way to week 14, where Daniel Jones has taken the lead back in passing yards with 3,600. What about touchdowns? That goes to Russell Wilson, still with 33 of them. And in interceptions, that is Aaron Rodgers and Ryan Tannehill, both with 15. And the AFC North is being led by the Cleveland Browns at 8-4, the AFC South being led by the Titans at 9-3, the AFC East is being led by the 7-6 Dolphins, and the Bills finally have 2 wins, so we have no winless teams here. And the AFC West is being led by the 9-3 Denver Broncos. The NFC North is a runaway for the Packers at 9-3, second place is 4-8, the NFC South is a tie between the Falcons and the Panthers, both at 9-3, but the Saints are still in it at 8-4 as well. And the NFC East, the football team has the lead at 8-4, and the Eagles are right there at 7-6. But now I will jump all the way to the end of the season so we can see who won all the divisions, who makes the playoffs, and who is headed to the Super Bowl. And now at the end of the season, before I jump into the playoffs, we will see who led the league in every stat, and then we'll go around every team and see how their quarterback did. But for starters, Matt Ryan throws for 5,000 yards, which leads the league. In touchdowns, that stays with Russell Wilson with 45. Second place was Lamar Jackson with 43, and interceptions goes to Aaron Rodgers, who threw 22 of them. And none of these guys really count for throwing 100% of their passes, so Lamar Jackson was the most accurate this year with a 69% completion percentage. Derrick Henry runs for 1,900 yards and 16 touchdowns, and Christian McCaffrey takes the lead in rushing touchdowns with 21. Michael Thomas led the league in receptions with 113, Keenan Allen had 104, in yards is also Michael Thomas, but in touchdowns, that goes to Juju Smith-Schuster with 15. Devondre Campbell leads the league in tackles with 147. In sacks, DeForest Buckner led the league with 18.5, and in interceptions, Tyrann Mathieu got 6. But let's see how all the quarterbacks did on their respective teams. Patrick Mahomes goes for 4,600 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Carson Wentz goes for a little under 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns to 14 picks. Ryan Tannehill with 4,500 yards, 28 touchdowns, but 21 interceptions. And I did not catch this at the beginning of the year, but Justin Fields signs with the Broncos to start over Gardner Minshew. He throws for 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. In Cleveland, Tom Brady throws for 3,300 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 10 picks. In Tampa, Derek Carr throws for 4,300 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 13 picks. Deshaun Watson throws for nearly 4,300 yards, 25 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. Daniel Jones with almost 4,900 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 13 picks. And it looks like the Chiefs signed Jimmy Garoppolo instead of starting Mitch Trubisky, but Trubisky did not play bad. He threw 5 touchdowns and no picks on the year, but Garoppolo looks to be their main starter. He threw for 3,900 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Trey Lance with almost 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 7 picks. Josh Allen did not play as well as I thought he would in Dallas, only 3,900 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 10 picks. Aaron Rodgers throws for 4,600 yards, 33 touchdowns, but leads the league with 22 interceptions. Jameis Winston in Philadelphia throws for 4,400 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 13 picks. In Atlanta, Dak Prescott throws for 4,900 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. In Washington, Russell Wilson throws for almost 4,800 yards, leads the league in passing touchdowns with 45, and throws 14 interceptions. And it looks like the Niners decided to sign a different quarterback rather than start Drew Lock. They signed Jared Goff, who threw for 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Mac Jones in his year with the Giants went for 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 13 picks. Jalen Hurts had a pretty good year in Jacksonville, 4,300 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. Matt Stafford on the Jets goes for 4,100 yards, 30 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. And it looks like the Lions decided to sign another quarterback rather than roll with Josh Rosen. They went with Kenny Pickett, who threw for 3,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 17 picks. In Green Bay, Tua throws for 4,600 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. Kyler Murray throws for 4,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 11 picks in his year in Carolina. Zach Wilson for the Patriots throws for 3,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. And it looks like the Raiders had a second quarterback come in at some point. They signed Darnold to play over Mariota. Darnold goes for 2,700 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 picks. But Mariota goes for almost 1,800, 13 touchdowns, and 4 picks. The Rams decided to roll with Cam Newton all season. He goes for 4,100 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. The Ravens decided to sign Kirk Cousins instead of rolling with Davis Mills, and Cousins goes for 3,300 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. In New Orleans, Lamar Jackson goes for 4,800 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 14 picks. We saw Matt Ryan's stat line earlier, 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. Baker Mayfield in his year in Pittsburgh goes for almost 4,200 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. Over in Houston, Justin Herbert goes for 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence in Tennessee goes for 3,700 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 12 picks. And just like I said earlier in the video, last but certainly not least, Joe Burrow, almost 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. The AFC North goes to the 12-5 Cleveland Browns. The AFC South goes to the 1-seed Titans at 14-3, and the Texans managed to get into the playoffs at 10-7. The AFC East goes to the 8-9 Dolphins, and then the AFC West sends 3 teams to the playoffs. The Broncos, Chiefs, and Raiders are all going. The NFC North goes to the Packers at 11-6. The NFC South will send 3 teams to the playoffs. The 13-4 1-seed Falcons, the 12-5 Saints, and the 11-6 Panthers are all going. The NFC East is sending 2 teams, the 12-5 Washington Football Team and the 9-8 Dallas Cowboys. And the NFC West is sending the 9-8 Seahawks. In case you want to know all of the seedings and the matchups, here's the first round of the playoffs. And in the first round, the Washington Football Team knock out the Cowboys 37-21. The Packers advance, beating the Panthers 39-35. And the Saints run over the Seahawks 45-13. On the AFC side, the 7-seed Raiders knock out the Browns 28-10. The Broncos knock out the Texans 27-10. And the Chiefs knock out the Dolphins 21-10. In the divisional round, the Saints knock out the Falcons 35-32, and the Packers knock out Washington 30-24. On the AFC side, the Tennessee Titans knock out the Raiders 28-24, and the Chiefs knock out the Broncos 13-10. And in the conference championship round, the New Orleans Saints take out the Green Bay Packers 35-10, and the Titans knock out the Chiefs 27-21. So the Super Bowl will be between the Tennessee Titans led by Trevor Lawrence and the New Orleans Saints led by Lamar Jackson. So the Tennessee Titans led by Trevor Lawrence and Derrick Henry knock off Lamar Jackson and the New Orleans Saints in the Super Bowl 38-21. Well, that pretty much wraps up this video. This was just a weird idea. I wanted to see what would happen if you cut every quarterback in the league, and apparently it's just complete pandemonium like a rookie Trevor Lawrence leading the Titans to the Super Bowl. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time.